Detroit Den 313 Lions fans. Stephen Wood, we're back with another episode of Detroit Den 313. Today we'll be talking about
hammers, nails. Who's the hammer? Who's the nail?
Talk to him, Steve. What are we talking?
So, guys, here's the deal. What we're going to start doing is every Tuesday or Wednesday, we don't know exactly which day, we're going to start doing a dedicated episode to talk about the Detroit Lions and how we're looking just within the division, how other teams in our division looked. These episodes are not intended to be any type of like hit piece or trash talk, conduct ourselves as professionals here. We're just going to talk about the Bears, the Vikings, the Packers. They affect the Detroit Lions. Yeah. The key to getting to the Super Bowl isn't the only way to go, but winning your division is the easiest start to getting to the Super Bowl. So we're going to talk about the Bears, how they look, the Vikings, the Packers. We're going to talk it all. So William, division wrap up from this past week. All of our divisions are done. There's no really need to wait around.
Yeah.
Division wise, who stuck out? Who didn't look good? What concerns you? What's on your mind?
The biggest thing that I would have said after kind of looking through this thing of who stood up to me, and then maybe I'm in the minority, would have been the Green Bay Packers. But we know the Green Bay Packers have a little issue.
They have a big issue.
Yeah. So the Packers played the Philadelphia Eagles in a shootout. They ended up losing. But at the end of that football game, they had a guy go down that's pretty important to their team. Steve, you want to talk to him about who went down for those Green Bay Packers?
Jordan Love left the game, and at the time, we didn't know what the injury was. Now we have more information that I think he sprained his MCL. He didn't tear it, so they said that they're shutting him down for, was it 3 to 4 weeks, I believe, and that's 25% of the season.
Yeah,
that's a significant amount of time. And again, disclaimer: we don't cheer for injuries. And I'll say this. Jordan Love came into Detroit last year on Thanksgiving and ruined my holiday. All right. I want my pound of flesh the right way. I want my payback. I want a fully healthy Jordan Love when they come to Detroit. I think that's after Thanksgiving. They come to Detroit. I believe that's a Thursday night football game. But I want Jordan Love to get healed up. But I'm wondering, 3 to 4 weeks, they're 0-1 right now. Not the end of the world. Malik Willis, is he going to save their season? How do you feel about this whole situation?
Well, I will say I have to remind people that Malik Willis was somebody that you really wanted the Lions to draft.
Not at all. Not at all true. Everything about that is completely wrong.
No, to say Malik Willis is something that would worries me at all, it would be a lie.
My exact words to you were, if we draft Malik Willis, I'm going to go take a nap on train tracks. I believe I said something along those lines.
I do believe that's pretty accurate, actually. Malik Willis scares me none. I honestly, I don't think that I would be worried about seeing Malik Willis on a Friday night, let alone a Sunday evening. So I think that puts those guys in a very, very tough situation as far as those Packers go. I didn't take the opportunity to look at what their schedule looks like over the next 3 to 4 games, but I can't imagine that as long as they're playing against NFL teams, Malik Willis running their offense probably is in a bright spot for them right now. So Love did have some success though with Jaden Reed out of Michigan State. Last week he had a ton of yards. He had 4 for 138 and a tutty, man. So they got weapons. They got Christian Watson, Tucker Kraft. Like, they got guys. They got weapons. A pretty good defense. So I respect their team, but without the signal caller, man, I think that could be, they could mess around and be out of the division race if they go freaking 0-3 or 0-4 over that span. It's their season is pretty much done at that point.
So while you said that, I was looking up their schedule because I was curious. So week 2, next week, they play the Packers play the Colts at home. That's a tough game. The Colts just took Houston to the brink, and Houston's a lot of people are picking them to win the AFC and go to the Super Bowl. Then they play the Titans, who we'll talk about in a minute because they just played the Bears, but Malik Willis's former team on the road. They're both familiar with each other. Tennessee's defense looks good. They let the Bears off the hook. Again, we'll talk about that more. And then they play the Rams, who we just saw. So that's their next 3 games. That's the earliest he comes back. Now, if it's 4 weeks, play the Cardinals, who also are kind of a sneaky team that we're going to be seeing in a couple weeks. So who knows what's going on there? When they say 3 to 4 weeks for a quarterback, I always add another 2. If it's 3 to 4, I'm picturing 5 to 6 because they're always going to play it more conservatively. They just paid him $50 million. They are not going to rush him back. And MCL he's lucky it didn't tear. But it's something you don't want to mess around with. So if this goes any further, you got the Texans and the Jaguars after that. So here's the question. You go, let's say he's out 7 weeks. If you go 1-5 during that stretch, so you're looking at being 1-7, is there any point in even starting Jordan Love, or do you shut him down for the year?
I don't know that I shut him down for the year if he's healthy, but I wouldn't rush him back. Like, even if you go 0-3 over that span, it's like, man, if you're looking at 0-4 and you're kind of like, you could play, but you're still not all the way right, I don't know that I rush you back at that point. And maybe we look at this thing as a developmental season at that point. So it'll be interesting to see what they do moving forward. But it's a pivotal time for those Green Bay Packers, man. They could see themselves on the outside looking in if they don't figure out a way to have some success. But honestly, I think if Willis doesn't look good, man, they probably go get a veteran after the first week, because they're not a team. That defense is too good for them to just pack it in and give up. So I think that if Willis isn't ready, or if he doesn't look good over that first week, you might see them go get a veteran quarterback to try to lead that team to some success. Do they still have your boy on that roster, Sean Clifford?
I don't know. I don't know why you're calling Sean Clifford my boy. He's
That's
the worst thing to happen to Penn State since Jerry Sandusky. What are we talking about here?
That might be the next guy on the list, man. And
I did see some rumors that they were thinking about bringing in Tannehill. So that would probably be a smart move for the Packers.
Yeah, that's probably what happens, and it'll at least give them a bridge situation until Love gets back.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
He might be able to hold the water for him.
Yeah, we'll see what happens out there in Green Bay. Where you want to go next?
Let's start with the other team that lost. We'll just start from the bottom and work our way up. Again, no pun intended. It's just the way it's flowing. Chicago Bears. Yeah. Again, they played the Tennessee Titans. We were watching that game at Motor City Casino, and I feel like the Titans let the Bears off the hook. So, they didn't lose. The Titans ended up losing, so they should have lost. Titans left them and just gave the game. Like, I believe they had a pick six and a punt return touchdown. Like, Caleb Williams, I guess, is going to be the vocal point of this conversation as well, because number 1 pick, Rome Odunze, top 10 pick. Like, no quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, has been drafted number 1 overall and came into a better situation than what Caleb Williams did. And he was getting all kinds of praise for winning the game, but his stat line was poop.
I thought he lit it up, man. What was he? I wrote it down: 14 for 29 with 93 yards.
Are you nuts?
But he was on. I hope that Detroit does that.
At one point, I know for a fact he was 3 for 6 for 5 yards. Okay, like, I could literally do 10 up downs and complete more passes for more yards in that span.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. He's got weapons everywhere. They got him a nice nice big young receiver. Rome Odunze, and then he's still got DJ Moore, and then he's got Keenan Allen. He's got a running back. He's got a couple of running backs, actually. Revamped offensive line, great defense. Like, there's no reason why he shouldn't be being successful. I was a little bit surprised by the 93 yards, especially, they've pretty much been claiming this dude the next coming since Jesus Christ, man. So 93, there's some growing pains there. I'm interested, man, because I will say, he does have me terrified. He does have me terrified with his skill set.
Not this season.
They put pieces around him. His skill set is legit. I'm hoping that he can't put it all together, at least this season.
Now, when I look at the Bears receiving core, I think you could make a case for them having the best receiving core in the NFL. Rome Odunze, I'm drawing blanks now.
Keenan Allen,
Allen, and DJ Moore. Those are probably the 3 best receivers on one team. Like, I always thought that the Bengals might have had that edge, but I think the Bears took it. To go out and have 93 yards is not a good opener. As much as I hope the Bears lose, like, trying to be realistic, like, I bet on the Bears that game. So financially, I was, you guys owe me an explanation. Like, what do we? Someone owes me $15.
What has
It,
happened?
yeah, and if you guys need my address to mail that check, like I'll make sure I call you and before it clears. But someone owes me that large amount of money. Caleb Williams struggled. All the talk on Hard Knocks, they were praising him. He looks great. Nice Patrick Mahomes. I did not see that this week.
Yeah, I hope we can.
I saw Jackson Mahomes, not Patrick Mahomes.
Jackson might have played better.
So the Bears, they squeaked out a win, got past the Titans. Titans, I think, let them off the hook. A win is a win, though, as they say. So we're tied with them in the division. Next, Minnesota Vikings. Kind of a surprise team for me.
Yeah, Minnesota pretty much dominated that game, man. Pretty much dominated it. Now, I did see a crazy stat. And I wonder, I don't know if I still have it, but it was that Danny Dimes has thrown, since getting his bag, right? Since getting that 50 mil, he has thrown more passes to the opposition for touchdowns than he has to his team. Now, don't quote me, because I don't have it.
I believe it. I know he threw at least one on Sunday. He threw a pick six, like they were backed up inside their own 20.
I got it. It says, since getting $160 million, Daniel Jones has thrown more touchdown passes to the oppositions than his teammates. 6 pick sixes. What are we doing here, man? What are we doing here? So I don't know, when you're playing against that caliber of guy, how much credibility can you give that victory to the Minnesota Vikings is kind of my question. You know, they lost Saquon Barkley. They got a rookie wide receiver playing in his first game in Malik Neighbors, who's probably their biggest threat on their team. How much credibility can you give this victory to the Minnesota Vikings when you got guys like Justin Jefferson, you got veteran running backs like Aaron Jones, and you got weapons on that team as far as even in the backup receiver role. So I don't know, man. Do you take a lot of credibility in that domination of the New York Giants?
At the end of the day, a win is a win. And again, I'm a gambler. I like to put money on games, make it a little more interesting for me. When I looked at this game, literally, my exact words were, I have no idea who to pick in this game. I don't know. I can't bet on Daniel Jones to win a football game if I'm looking to just making money. Do I trust Sam Darnold? But Sam Darnold played okay. He played average. I think, what was this, that like 250, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Like it wasn't a crazy stat line game. It was just efficient, I guess, and that's kind of what the Vikings were looking for. They with Kirk Cousins leaving and getting hurt last year, they were kind of shuffling around the QB roulette room last year, and we kind of benefited from that with Nate Mullins. But Nate Mullins, he threw for some yards, but sometimes he would just throw up some dog crap, and we would just kind of pick him off, or we'd get after him. But Sam Darnold, I thought, was pretty efficient, and again, I didn't want to touch this game financially, because I had no idea what was going to happen. So when the Vikings won the game, I wasn't surprised. But then when I look at it and I'm like, I feel like Daniel Jones really, like, he's a crutch. He's a crutch to the Giants, like in a bad way. So when you're going against Daniel Jones, you kind of got a little edge, I think.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too. And I know this isn't the Giants aren't in our division, but that the head coach went to calling the plays. So he saw fit to become the signal caller and not let his OC do it. And then they pretty much crap the bed and don't do anything. They sent Saquon Barkley out of town and decided to pay Danny Dimes. Man, this is when people lose their job. So I don't know if they continue this, he's probably not going to be around much longer with the Giants. But Steve, with all of these 3 games now, and looking at what the Detroit Lions did, how do you feel the Lions sit as far as divisionally?
I saw a debate. I think it was on Twitter. Someone was talking about who played the hardest game in the division this week. Was it the Packers playing the Eagles? Because that's a tough team. Those are 2 playoff teams. The Lions playing the Rams. Those are 2 playoff teams. So I think we were more tested at home Sunday Night Football. I'm confident with the Lions. I really like our roster from top to bottom. We got out of that game unhurt, which is the most important thing in the NFL. Get through your week, don't get injured, win the football game.
Yeah.
Not a lot of teams can say that. A lot of teams, a couple teams struggled, but I don't think it changes my opinion on what the Lions did. I still think that we're the top dogs. We're the defending champs. Our team got better in a lot of different ways. And I know a lot of other teams did well as well, especially in our division with young quarterbacks. Unfortunately, JJ McCarthy's not playing this year, so that's why we're not really talking about him. But real quick, back to the Giants. Did you watch the in-season Hard Knocks with the Giants and like their off-season stuff?
I did not.
I'm drawing a blank on the Giants GM's name, but watching him navigate the offseason in the draft, this dude, I don't know how long he's going to have a job, especially with how they're playing. Like the product that you're putting on your roster is not translating to NFL wins. You have questions at quarterback, and in Hard Knocks, they were actively throwing out the idea of trying to trade up for a quarterback. They passed on JJ McCarthy. They passed on Michael Penix. They passed on Bo Nix, and they decided we're going to ride with Daniel Jones and draft a receiver. Is that working out? Because you traded a lot of draft capital for Brian Burns as well. So I don't see how this is, and this isn't even a Giants episode, but I don't see how that guy's going to keep his job for very long. That's just what I'm saying. Like, I wish we played the Giants. The Vikings you guys had essentially a bye week this week.
Yeah, hey, you read my mind, man. That's what I was saying. I don't give a lot of credibility to that victory, man. I will say that, just like you said, Darnold was efficient. I think that he was like 19 to 24 for 200 yards. Like it wasn't anything that would blow your mind, but he also didn't play like garbage either. So I hate to throw that word around that people throw around, but game manager, I feel like that's what it was. He managed the game. He didn't lose the game. Like he's doing what he needs to do to make sure he's not the reason they lose, to make sure the offense keeps pushing the ball forward. But I don't see him out there making any type of crazy plays. So I feel like our team's different. We're built at all levels to make plays. We're going to be tough to beat. I don't worry as much about the Minnesota Vikings or the Chicago Bears yet, but I do worry about the Green Bay Packers. And the reason why I worry about the Green Bay Packers is I believe in the old boxing saying, like you gotta beat the champion, right? You can't you got to take the champion out. You can't just beat the champion on points. You can't barely edge them out. You got to dominate them. That Thanksgiving Day game that you make mention to, the Packers came in and punched us in the mouth, man. They beat us up. So until I see the Detroit Lions establish dominance and punch the Packers in the mouth, I'm going to say that the Packers have the edge, right?
Well, we beat the crap out of them earlier in the year last year, though. So it's kind of a push, right?
Yeah, but I just felt like when the Packers came to town, I felt like they were more dominant in that victory. And I felt like it just didn't feel like we were ever in the game for some reason. Like they took over early, ruined my Thanksgiving early, and
Gary ruined our holiday.
Yeah, and just never let us have hope. So what I want to see is us take that back. Do I feel like that we're a different team? I do. Do I feel like the pieces that we got in the offseason fit what the Green Bay Packers are? I do. I feel like we upped our rush game. We're not a single side rushing team anymore. I feel like we upped our interior, which was also pretty good. And I feel like our secondary got better, man. I feel like we're going to be stickier in the secondary. One thing that I say about the Green Bay Packers is they got a lot of receivers, which they typically are, man. They typically have 4 to 5 guys that are serviceable NFL receivers. That's who Green Bay has been for a long time, since we're talking about Robert Ferguson's and Donald Drivers and Nelson's and Jennings. And they always got a group of guys that can all play this game at a high level, but they're not the Devontae Adams of the world across the board. They always got one guy that's supposedly the alpha, but at the same time, they got 3 or 4 other ones that can move the chains at any given time. So I think that's what they are. And what do? We up the secondary. So you're going to bring 4 or 5 guys out there to run around and run routes and go into empty sets and 4 wide receiver sets and try to stress us out. We're not worried. Even if we can't get home, we got a secondary that's going to continue to be sticky as long as we're healthy. You got Carlton Davis, you got Amik Robertson, you got Brian Branch, you got Ennis Rakestraw, you got Terry and Arnold. We have a lot of corners, man. A lot of secondary guys that can play man-to-man now. I think we match up well.
And last thing about the Lions, our biggest playmaker the last 4 years since Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell took over has been Amon-Ra St. Brown. We just won a game against a playoff team where he had 3 catches.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of different ways we can beat teams too. And last thing I'm going to say about Sam Darnold, Minnesota Vikings quarterback, your job, I feel like, is to just get the ball to Justin Jefferson. Don't force it. Take it when it's open. They got plenty of plays for him. Just don't turn the ball over. And I think he did that well. One turnover, no big deal. Jared Goff had a turnover too, so we can't knock him. Just efficient. But at the end of the day, the Packers are the biggest threat. I still feel like if they can weather the storm for Jordan Love and he comes back and they're sitting at, let's just say they're 500 while he's out. That's pretty good. Like they weathered the storm. They're a 500 football team with about 11 games to play. So they're a team that I still have in the back of my mind as probably our biggest threat.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's the same. I'm sitting in the same spot.
All right, guys, that's it for today. Just a little NFC North wrap up. Let us know how you feel about this segment. We're going to try to do it once a week at least. We'll figure out which day we're going to put that out, lock it into a schedule. Let us know if that's something you want to hear. Leave it in the comments. Stick around. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.